We begin this story with a group of smugglers about to send one of their largest shipments. The product is cocaine, and the packaging consists of some melons that they have cut in half. Something that would only work in the movies, since we've already seen plenty of airport alerts. While they discuss the masterpiece that is their plan, in the building across the street we meet Harper, who has them in his sights with his rifle and is ready to pull the trigger. With one clean shot, he eliminates a guard, allowing his team to enter the warehouse where the drug lab is located. Once his team takes position, he orders the lights to be turned off and the party begins. Equipped with night vision, they have an advantage over the traffickers. After everyone falls and only the genius behind the melon idea remains, Andy, the team's leader, confronts him with a threatening look. Andy takes a photo from his pocket and shows it to the trafficker, demanding to know everything he knows about the person in the picture. Terrified, the trafficker reveals all he knows. Meanwhile, SMCH, his partner, finds suitcases full of money, and Andy instructs them to take the cash as spoils of the job. We then jump back in time 9 days. Enough to understand why Andy has done all this. The old man is, as usual, working as a locksmith. His clients are few due to his lack of attention. His boss, who is half his age, calls him into his office to scold him and issue an ultimatum regarding his performance, as if working for a 20-year-old idiot weren't enough. Andy is required to attend a therapy session every week, where we see he is dealing with some issues and flashbacks from his past. Flashbacks of his time in Afghanistan, when he was in charge of a unit of 20 soldiers who, because of him, fell into a trap with only 4 surviving. Among those survivors are Harper and SMCH. On the other hand, we meet Rachel, who is arguing with her mother over a trivial matter and storms out of the house in anger. Outside, her boyfriend Cassius is waiting for her, the very reason her mother disapproves of him and her frequent outings with him. That afternoon, Cassius tells his girlfriend that he will be away for work for a week and won't take his phone with him. Jealous and controlling as Rachel is, she immediately wants to argue, but Cassius remains firm, insisting she has no option. He confesses that he is a transporter and takes her to meet his partner, Harry. They then go to another friend's place, Bruno's, who is hosting a party, as Cassius needs to deliver something. Once there, Rachel understands why her mother disapproves of Cassius. The place is full of drugs and peculiar people. Moreover, Cassius's phone keeps ringing, and he leaves her there, promising to return after making his delivery. Under pressure from the women, Rachel tries a new drug and overdoses, dying right then and there in front of them. A few days later, we learn that Rachel was Andy's biological daughter, and he is devastated by the loss. Eva, his ex-wife, explains the situation with her boyfriend, and when Andy checks his daughter's phone, he finds a couple of messages from Cassius, who had no idea about her death. For hours, Andy stays home, drinking and pondering what to do with the bastards who caused his daughter's death. Immediately after, he grabs a gun from his garage and goes to confront Harry. Upon arriving, he starts eliminating one guard after another. After killing the guards and Bruno, he takes Harry and interrogates him about Cassius's whereabouts. To his misfortune, only one man remains, and this man traps him with a plastic bag over his head, suffocating him until he nearly loses consciousness. Just before Harry uses his nail gun to kill him. Then out of nowhere, Asmos appears and saves him from certain death. His former comrade comes by to offer condolences and sees him leaving his house with the nail gun, so he follows him to see what he is up to. Although Eva asks Andy to come home, he tells her he has things to do. The next day, he meets with Esmos and Harper at a city bar that is now owned by SMCH, his former colleague Nayor. Faced with the 4 survivors of his unit, Andy feels remorse for those who didn't make it out alive from the trap. His comrades ask him what he planned to do the previous night, and he recounts everything about his daughter's death at the hands of her boyfriend, a man who works for high-profile traffickers and wants to kill them all. Seeing their unit leader consumed by revenge, the team confesses that they too have personal issues, and perhaps eliminating many criminals is preferable to therapy on the other side of the city. Cassius is eating at a shabby diner when some men recognize him and try to rob him. Fortunately, a car appears and a pretty girl gets out armed. Cassius doesn't know her, but he has no choice but to get into her car to escape the thugs. Once on the move, they introduce themselves. She is Isabel, working for her father, who wants to see her. A look of unexpected news crosses her face, and it's clear that Cassius is almost terrified of his own father. Back with Andy, Harper takes him to an arms trafficker to procure what they need. Andy then meets with the seller, who notes down the names and lets the money do the talking. When asked what he plans to do with the weapons, Andy reveals that he will kill all the traffickers in the city, starting with those on this side. Just as he leaves the room, the seller takes his phone and attempts to call his clients, who happen to be the very traffickers that Andy is pursuing. The man turns his back to the door, and when he turns around, he receives a bullet in his leg. Andy never left. He knew he would try to warn his clients, and now he finds himself with a knife pressed against his neck as the man demands every detail he knows about his clients, including any names he can provide. Faced with a madman who would kill him for sport, the man spills all the beans and gives him the information he needs. But just seconds later, the trafficker's companion appears and almost kills Andy. Fortunately, Harper notices and quickly intervenes. Harper confesses that he has unfinished business with the trafficker, and Andy leaves him to resolve their issues, telling him he will wait in the car with Cassius. Isabel stops in front of a store to buy some food and offers to buy him anything he wants, but the guy declines and stays in the car. Isabel gets out and enters the store when, suddenly, an armed man follows her inside and a shootout erupts. Cassius runs to help her. After all, he still owes her a favor from before, and manages to get her out of the building. However, she has been injured in the leg. Before they can reach the car, a group of men appears, forces them into a van, and takes them to the outskirts of the city, where they are presented to X-Ray, the region's trafficking leader, who is furious with Isabel. She had entered his factory and contaminated an entire batch of merchandise, costing him millions of dollars in losses, and now she must pay. He does not know who Cassius is, but his fate is sealed simply for being with her at the wrong place and at the wrong time. Moreover, part of the shipment had been sold, and many customers died from overdosing on the damaged product. It is at this moment that Cassius realizes that the death of his girlfriend was caused by the same person who once saved his life. Hours earlier, Cassius had shouted at Isabel that Ray died because of her fault and tried to hit her, but X-Ray took care of that for him. Although he laments the death of his clients, there is nothing Cassius can do, as Isabel reveals that she works for the young man's father, a member of the competing faction, and the death of the boy would be beneficial for X-Ray. Before they can be executed, a shootout breaks out. Andy and his team have initiated their attack on the traffickers, with X-Ray's factory being the first target. Amid the chaos, someone nearly manages to escape, but Andy notices his presence and shoots him. The car refuses to lose control. With Isabel dead, the team searches for survivors, and Harper manages to obtain the name of the region's biggest trafficker, Lucian, who is Cassius's father and the ultimate leader, with his facilities on the edge of the coast. Meanwhile, we see that Cassius has been captured by his father's men, and now his father is very angry about all the chaos he has been causing. Although Lucian had chosen not to be involved in his son's life, that does not mean he doesn't care about what happens to him. A war has now erupted, and Cassius must choose the winning side alongside his father. Following this remark, we return to the opening scene, where we see Andy's team destroying one of Lucian's many installations along the coast. Instead of supporting his father and securing a life of luxury as the heir of his empire, Cassius rejoices that this is happening, all because of what happened to Rachel. Had his father not sent Isabel to contaminate the drugs, Rachel would still be alive. Meanwhile, Eva calls Andy to tell him that a group of men attempted to kidnap her. She called the police, but no one showed up. Yet Andy has his own problems, as his house is under attack at that very moment. Fortunately, the team arrives in time to save him. After eliminating the attackers, Andy takes the wheel and speeds toward Eva's house. But she isn't there. So they head toward the next location, one of Lucian's headquarters, where bullets start flying and the team faces difficulties for the first time. Upon arrival, they are ambushed, and a hail of bullets forces them to split up, giving each member the chance to demonstrate their individual skills. After a long fight, the team emerges victorious and obtains the location of Lucian's mansion. Lucian does not plan to let them attack him without a fight and intends to flee the country with Cassius in tow, so that the young man can reconsider his stance and realize he should be on his side. However, before they can leave, Andy reaches the mansion and assassinates Lucian's remaining guards. Now with Lucian trapped in his car, Andy demands the location of Eva. Lucian agrees to give it only if Andy lets Casu leave alive, insisting that the young man is not to blame for Rachel's death. Everything happened because of his feud with X-Ray. In the end, Andy agrees to forgive Cassius, and when Lucian provides the address, Andy thanks his friends for their support. They inform him that they found even more money in Lucian's house. Now they won't have to worry about starting over or about him having to make another key in his life. Now that he has reconciled with Eva, he will no longer have to work. The team celebrates and then leaves Andy alone. At that moment, Cassius appears, consumed by the death of his father, and shoots Andy. The film ends with emergency services arriving at the bar with Andy injured, leaving the question of whether he will survive this ordeal.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.